So Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington have decided that they're going to have a fight. It's targeted for November 6th in the Madison Square Garden in New York City. My initial thoughts about this particular fight is that I just feel like Kamaru Usman has obviously been very active since he last fought Colby Covington. And Colby Covington, in the same time period, has not been as active. Kamaru Usman has also been giving very impressive performances. I mean, he knocked out Masvidal in his last performance, and it was a very, very great display of power that he showed with his right hand. So in my opinion, obviously the first fight was a relatively close fight. Going into the fifth round, they both were at 2 rounds apiece, and then obviously Kamaru Usman broke Colby Covington's jaw, and that was all she wrote. So that was the end of the fight. But in my opinion, I think this time, I think Kamaru Usman is probably going to stop Colby Covington sooner, and the fight is not going to be as close. I think Kamaru Usman is one of them fighters that when he fights a fighter a second time, he usually has them figured out. If you look at the fight that he had with Masvidal obviously in their first fight gave him a relatively good fight. Obviously he decisively got beaten by Kamaru Usman, but it was a relatively close fight, and Kamaru Usman did somewhat struggle with his style. He was a bit awkward, and obviously Masvidal deserves a lot of credit for that, because he took that fight on 6 days notice, and he gave a relatively good performance. In the second fight, however, with a 3-month long camp, it wasn't even close. Kamaru Usman just completely iced him in the second round, and he also managed to stop a takedown as well from him. So in my opinion, I just think it's inevitable. I think Kamaru Usman's going to absolutely knock out Colby Covington. The reason is because I just feel like his game has just been completely revamped, and he's on just a whole nother level at this point in time in terms of being in part of the welterweight division. He's just heads and shoulders above the rest of the competition. Each fight you find out something new about Kamaru Usman. I've been noticing recently that he's been training with Douglas Lima, who ironically has a rematch coming up as well with MVP Michael Venom Page, and they've both been training leg kicks. Now, people that have seen Douglas Lima fight will tell you that Douglas Lima is known for his leg kicks. So in my opinion, obviously it might be fun to see that Kamaru Usman actually employs leg kicks in this particular fight against Colby Covington for the second fight. It might be interesting to see what he can do with that. It is a relatively interesting fight between Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman. The first fight was a barn burner. It was an interesting fight. The second fight, I think, is just going to get Kamaru Usman's just going to completely dominate him, and it's going to be it's not even going to be that close compared to the first fight. I think Kamaru Usman, because of his activity, how often he's fighting, and everything that he's doing in his particular career, I think it's inevitable to see him actually improve the way he's been improving. He's been very active, while Colby Covington's only had 1 fight. I think Kamaru Usman's had like 2-3 fights, maybe 4. So I just think Kamaru Usman's just heads and tails and levels above Colby Covington at this point in time. He's just on a whole nother level. I think he's on a whole nother level at this moment in time, in terms of everyone else within the sport. In terms of who I think could beat this version of Kamaru Usman, I think maybe a prime GSP, and maybe Khabib Nurmagomedov if he would have went up to welterweight. Obviously you got fighters above him in the weight class like Israel Adesanya, but just within the lightweight and welterweight division, I think that's the only 2 people that could have potentially have beaten Kamaru Usman at this point in time. So yeah, in my opinion, Kamaru Usman dominates Colby Covington in the second fight and probably stops him sooner than he did in the first fight. It's going to be very similar to the Masvidal fight in terms of the result. I think he's just going to stop him probably in the second or the third round. I just feel like because of his activity, the fact that he's heads and levels above everyone, the fact that he's developed his game as well much more than Colby has, I think Kamaru Usman is going to dominate Colby at this point in time. So yeah, that's my opinion. Tell me your opinion. Do you think there's a chance that Colby can win this particular fight? At this point, obviously, I'll probably give Kamaru Usman a 60, probably a 70. No, I'll probably give him a 70 to 80% chance of beating Colby in the second fight, and I think I'll give Colby 20 to 30% chance. Obviously, the first fight was relatively close, so you can't completely count him out. But I just think Kamaru Usman at this point in time is just heads and levels above everyone else in the division. So yeah, that's my opinion. Tell me your opinion below, and like and subscribe to the channel. I've got a lot more content coming your way. Peace out.